Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ottawa Public Health's Opioid Awareness Series. Today's session is How to Talk to Youth About Drugs. The objectives of today's session is to learn about opioid overdose prevention, supports in schools and community, and tips on how to have that talk. This is the second session in what is currently a two-part series. Opioids 101 was recorded on April 11th and can be viewed from stopoverdoseottawa.ca. Additionally, today's presentation, How to Talk to Youth About Drugs, will be live streamed in French on Thursday, April 20th. Today's session has been scheduled for 12 to 1. We have allotted half an hour for the presentation and half an hour for questions. I'm your moderator, Robin Music, a public health nurse with Ottawa Public Health. Your speaker for today's session is Danielle Vernoy, who is also a public health nurse with Ottawa Public Health. I'd like to note there are many different professions with varying target audiences viewing this presentation today. Some of the information provided may not be appropriate for all clientele. If you have any questions, please ask for clarification. If during the presentation any of the information triggers a strong emotional response, please seek support. A list of community services can be found on stopoverdoseottawa.ca. Please note this web session is being recorded for future broadcast and will be posted on stopoverdoseottawa.ca. To connect with us during this live stream, please write your questions and comments in the live chat feature on the right-hand side of the screen. For specific clinical questions, please call the Ottawa Public Health Information Line to speak with a public health nurse directly, Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30 at 613-580-6744. Questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. If you have difficulties with the sound on your computer, a teleconference line is available. The call-in number was sent to you from Eventbrite this morning and is listed in the chat feature to the side. Please note, to avoid disruptions, the line will be muted for the duration of the presentation. If you have called into the teleconference line, please ensure to mute your line by pressing *6. If you have difficulties connecting to the chat feature, you can email questions to opioids@ottawa.ca. Please note, this email address will only be monitored during our live stream presentations. As per the legal disclaimer found on the Eventbrite invitation, to protect the privacy of all individuals, please do not include personal names or information in the body of your comment or post, or specific information about your own or somebody else's health care or health status. As it is a public space, comments and photographs on this page are available for all to see. We reserve the right to remove comments for any reason as outlined in the legal disclaimer. At this time, I would like to welcome Danielle to start this session. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you, Robin. Positive mental health is a protective factor for youth and can increase their resiliency. Resiliency is the ability to meet life's challenges and to bounce back when things get tough. When things get tough or youth are feeling stress, help them to identify the problem. Is it, for example, school, their job, a relationship with someone, or worries about money causing stress? Urge youth to solve problems as they come up. Teach youth about positive coping strategies, such as talking to a friend or parent, keeping a journal, or meditation, which helps to restore emotional balance and feel better about yourself, is respectful of yourself, others, and property, and helps to solve the problem. Emphasize youth talk to someone they trust about their problems or feelings. The following are tips on how to talk to youth about mental health. Look for those one-on-one moments that present themselves. Maybe when you are together doing an everyday activity like mentoring, counseling, or being active together. When you're talking with youth, it's important to remember to use straightforward, clear, simple language. If you use big words or talk too much, youth are going to tune out. As well, try to stay calm. Getting angry and emotional in a situation is not going to help. Instead of judging what a youth is thinking, try to put yourself in their shoes. It is really important to listen. Listening is the most important part of communicating with youth. Try to share their feelings and try to be understanding. Lastly, be aware of your body language. Having crossed arms or maybe a stern look on your face while you're talking to youth might tell them that you're not really interested in what they have to say. Sometimes our actions speak louder than our words. It is important that we talk to youth about drugs and alcohol. Start early and keep the lines of communication open. Know the facts and share these facts with youth. The aim here is to help youth make an informed decision. The facts are available in the previous web session, Opioids 101, which can be found at stopoverdoseottawa.ca. Ask youth what concerns, worries, or questions they have about what is happening or drugs in general. Plan the main points you want to discuss, rather than speaking on impulse. Avoid saying everything at once. Instead, keep it brief and target a few main points. Respect that youth are experts in their own culture, so invite them to teach you about their world. Ask them about what they know about drugs. Listen to them and respect their opinions. If They see you as a good listener. They may be more inclined to trust your input. Give them room to participate, ask questions, and avoid being judgmental. Remain informed. You can use an external reference like social media, a newspaper article, or TV show about drugs to start a conversation. Focus on facts rather than emotions. If you hear that a young person is using drugs, you may feel anger, sadness, fear, or confusion. These feelings are natural, but talking about the issue is more productive than talking about your feelings. Respect their independence. Explain to them that you are trying to help them make good decisions and communicate that your main concern is their safety and well-being. Recognize that experimentation and mistakes happen. The adolescent brain is still developing, especially the areas in charge of impulse control, and youth may place themselves in a risky situation. Help them reflect on a mistake and turn it into a learning opportunity. Be open, supportive, and involved. Discuss an exit strategy. This is a plan you can discuss with youth to get out of a situation, such as a party, an event, or a gathering that is not going well or they feel unsafe. Help them to determine who they could call or text to help get them out. Here are some of the common reasons youth may use drugs and some of the reasons to refuse. Youth may consider doing drugs because they think it will help them fit in. However, drugs change a person, and instead of fitting in, they can destroy friendships. Drugs affect a youth's time and money, leaving little of either to spend with friends. Remind youth they do not have to do all the same things as their friends just to keep friendships. Youth may think that their life is too stressful and help them to cope with life's struggles. In reality, drugs are not the way to deal with stress. They change the way your brain works. This can lead to depression, anxiety, and other mental illnesses, or make a mental health issue worse. Instead, offer youth positive coping skills, such as hanging out with positive and supportive friends, meditating, writing in a journal, reading a self-help book, doing something they enjoy, like exercise, sports, art, and/or music, or talking to others they can trust. Experimentation or curiosity may also be a reason youth may choose to try drugs. Drugs can affect judgment and decision-making skills, which could lead to doing something dangerous or risky they normally wouldn't do. Youth may try drugs because of media influence or unrealistic images. What youth think is popular may be influenced by media such as television shows and movies, but these media images rarely show the true consequences of drug use. In real life, using drugs often leads to conflicts with family and friends, poor performance at school and at work, problems with money and the law, may also result in injury and/or death. Youth believe they are not addicted and can stop using at any time. Once addicted, it can be very difficult to stop. Stopping can trigger withdrawal symptoms, which may be very unpleasant. People often begin to use drugs again in order to avoid these unpleasant symptoms. If a youth becomes addicted, realizing this fact is the first step to recovery. They will also need the support of friends or family to cope during this difficult time. Part of substance misuse prevention involves talking to youth about substances. The following slides contain examples of signs that may be linked to substance use but are not always indicative of substance use. If you suspect someone is using drugs, start a conversation with the intent of getting them help. Objects you may find which could suggest drug use include mirrors and/or straws, which may be used when snorting drugs. Along with this is powder residue. Syringes and injection kits, which may indicate if drugs are being used, they are being injected. Eye drops, which may be used to cover up symptoms associated with drug use. Scent concealers, like dryer sheets, deodorant, body spray, mouthwash, and room air fresheners, which all of which may indicate an effort to cover up the smell of drug use. Physical signs of drug use may vary depending on the type of drug being used. Here are several examples of physical signs of substance use. Red eyes, and depending on the substance being used, dilated, as is the case for stimulants like cocaine, or pinpoint pupils when opioids are used. You may also notice trouble speaking, slurred and/or slowed speech. You might observe problems with attention and memory, coughing, throat irritation and/or dry mouth, see signs of injection, such as needle marks, runny nose or nose sores if the individual is snorting drugs. There may be noticeable alcohol breath breath or clothes that smell of marijuana, and maybe even notice a lack of concern for personal hygiene. The following behavior changes may be associated with substance use and again may vary depending on the type of substance being used. An individual may abandon activities that were once enjoyed and instead may become isolated from others. They spend less time at home. You may notice a heightened secrecy about actions or possessions. You may notice strange telephone calls. Perhaps there is a change in peer group or friends, a change in wardrobe, a change in appearance, and/or abrupt changes in mood or attitude. The individual may become irritable. There is a sudden decline in attendance or performance at school. You may notice a sudden resistance to discipline at home or school. You may notice they are asking to borrow money more often, or may notice valuable objects or money that go missing. Finally, you may notice changes in appetite as well. It is important to keep in mind that all of the signs and symptoms of substance use do not appear in every case. However, it is always worth having a conversation with a youth when you notice a change, and if these signs appear often enough, it is worth responding. Always encourage youth to seek help from their families as well. While you can provide advice and information to youth, sometimes only a parent or guardian can get them certain kinds of help, like a visit with a doctor or mental health professional. Unless they are in imminent danger, then you need to step in. What is addiction? The Center for Addiction and Mental Health, or CAMH, explains addiction very well. The word addiction, when linked to substance use, is often described as any behavior that is out of control in some way. Youth may describe themselves as being addicted to, for example, a TV show or shopping. The word is used to explain the experience of withdrawal when a substance or behavior is stopped. For example, I must be addicted to coffee. I get a headache when I don't have my cup in the morning. However, experiencing enjoyment or going through withdrawal do not in themselves mean a person has an addiction. Because the term addiction is commonly used in such a vague way, there have been many attempts to define it more clearly. One simple way of describing addiction, as outlined by CAMH, is the presence of the 4 C's. Craving, loss of control regarding the amount or frequency of use, compulsion to use, despite consequences. It is important to also note there is no one-size-fits-all approach to addiction treatment. Choosing the appropriate treatment depends on the severity and type of addiction, the support available from family, friends, and others, and the person's motivation to change. To reach out to people who may not be ready, willing, or able to give up substances, a harm reduction approach may be needed, such as helping individuals learn safer ways to use substances and helping people learn how to recognize the signs of an overdose. For those who counsel youth, motivational interviewing, or MI, is a client-centered approach for assisting with change and can be used to help youth who are using drugs. This counseling method is more like a partnership than an expert-recipient relationship. Instead of focusing on why an individual does not want to change, explore what the individual does want and to focus on what is truly important to the individual. Use reflective listening, which uses statements instead of questions to clarify and amplify the meaning that the client places on events. Acknowledge and appreciate the youth's thoughts and opinions without judging him or her. This empowers them to make decisions that match their personal values, beliefs, and goals. As seen here, Ottawa Public Health's role includes meeting people where they are at. On the surveillance front, we are also monitoring local data with partners. Ottawa Public Health works with school and community partners to provide a safe and supportive community that addresses substance misuse. We offer many health promotion and education services. We offer positive parenting messages, videos on talking to youth about mental health, and stigma reduction. At schools, school health nurses work with all Ottawa elementary and high schools to provide curriculum support, education, and resources based on substance misuse prevention and health curriculum, and connect students with community resources. Ottawa Public Health is also a member of the Substance Abuse and Youth in Schools Coalition, also known as SES. This coalition provides students in grades 7 through 12 substance misuse prevention and treatment programs, including access to addiction counselors in and out of school. Ottawa Public Health is also increasing prevention awareness about opioids, the harms associated with poor mental health and substance misuse. In the community, we provide access to sterile harm reduction supplies, safe disposal of injection equipment, health information, testing, HIV, hepatitis B and C, and STIs, vaccinations, peer overdose prevention program, or POP as it's known in the community, training and counseling through Ottawa Public Health's Site Needle and Syringe program. Safe and confidential discussion is available with referral to health and social service agencies, including drug treatment agencies. We also partner with the Youth Services Bureau to offer youth harm reduction drop-in clinics. Ideally, we hope no one is using drugs and there is no completely safe way to use illicit drugs or drugs not prescribed for you. But for those who are using, we want to keep them as safe as possible while encouraging them to seek help. The following are tips given to those we know are using. This is also information you can use when having a conversation with someone who is using or someone who is concerned for a family or friend who is using drugs. Don't use alone. If you overdose when you are alone, there will be no one there to help you. When using with someone else, don't use at the same time. Be sure your friend is willing to call for help and make a plan for what to do if an overdose happens. If you do use alone, tell someone before you use. Leave the door unlocked and have someone come and check on you. Don't mix drugs with other drugs or alcohol. Mixing with other drugs puts you at higher risk of overdose. If you are going to mix, use one drug at a time or use less of each drug. Carry naloxone. Naloxone is a medication that can temporarily reverse an opioid overdose. Free take-home naloxone kits are available through the Ontario Naloxone Pharmacy Program. See stopoverdoseottawa.ca for a list of participating pharmacies. These kits are available to people who use drugs and their friends and family. Know your tolerance. Tolerance is the body's ability to handle the effects of the drug being used. Tolerance to a drug develops over time. Your tolerance will also change depending on weight, illness, stress, lower immune system, from hepatitis for example, lack of sleep, other drugs or medications being used, and general health. Use less drugs when your tolerance may be lower. Your risk of overdose increases if you are a new user or haven't used in 3 or more days. While any of these tips are important, be aware anything can be cut with illicit fentanyl, meaning even drugs you are used to taking could actually be a lot more toxic. There is always a risk of overdose, even when all these tips are followed. Also note these messages are not appropriate and intended for all individuals. They are for your information when working with individuals, in particular those who may be using drugs. Nurses in the School Health Program at Ottawa Public Health offer a variety of resources and presentations related to substance misuse prevention. Specific school health resources include an interactive poison in tobacco kit, which shows some of the dangerous chemicals found in household items that are also present in cigarettes. Tobacco presentations using inflatable pig's lungs. The display includes one healthy lung and one diseased lung, which simulates the effects of smoking a pack of cigarettes a day for 20 years. Substance misuse prevention presentations from grade 4 to 8 based on the Ontario Health and Physical Education curriculum. These presentations, grade dependent, cover multiple areas related to tobacco, alcohol, and/or marijuana, and their use, including how these substances affect the body, the legalities of, their potential negative effects, and refusal skills. An interactive substance misuse prevention games kit is also available for grades 5 to 8. Instructions, as well as all the materials needed to play the games, are included. We also have a Healthy Transitions program for grades 7 and 8. This is a mental health promotion program for young adolescents, their parents, and teachers. The program was developed by the Child and Youth Health Network for Eastern Ontario and facilitated through the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. During the program, students will learn about coping with stress, positive ways to express oneself, and how and where to get help if needed. We also offer substance misuse prevention presentations for grade 9s to 12, which covers multiple areas related to legal and illegal substances. Substances covered in these presentations include alcohol, marijuana, ecstasy, and opioids, including fentanyl. According to the Ontario Student Drug Youth and Health Survey, in Ottawa specifically, 13% of Ottawa high school students used prescription drugs that were not for them, and 2/3 of these students said they got them from home. So it is important to emphasize to families the following key messages: locking up all medications and checking them regularly, returning unused medications to your pharmacy or at a pharmacy participating in the Take It Back program. If a youth has an injury or pain issue, like wisdom teeth removal, speaking to the healthcare professional, such as the doctor, dentist, or pharmacist, about the risks of different pain medications. Monitor their usage and return any unused medications. These messages are targeted to youth in grades 6 to 8 or aged 10 to 14 years and are part of the Ontario Health and Physical Education curriculum. It is dangerous to use a prescription medication or a drug that hasn't been prescribed for you by a health professional. Prescription medications are meant to help your body or mind with an illness or infection. If you don't have the illness or infection, you don't need the medication. Your parents or an adult you trust need to be aware of the medication you are taking and can help you take it if needed. If there is leftover prescription medication, return it to your pharmacy. Illicit drugs can be made to look almost the same as prescription drugs. It can be hard to tell the difference. Illicit drugs are unpredictable and can be dangerous. You never know how it is made or what it is mixed with. In Ottawa, police and healthcare providers are warning everyone there are life-threatening drugs, such as illicit fentanyl, being mixed with other illicit drugs. Using drugs may cause an overdose. An overdose is when a person uses more of a drug or combination of drugs than the body can handle. Know how to say no when someone offers you a drug and practice these refusal skills. For youth aged 13 to 18, it is important to give them the facts about the effects of alcohol and drugs so that they can make an informed decision. Youth already know how to say no, and when asked can list many creative approaches. But what they do need is to practice these refusal skills and consider the impact of peer pressure. Consider using scenarios, talking about peer pressure, and communication skills when supporting youth. Reinforce opioids are a family of drugs mainly used to treat pain, and that both prescription opioids and illicit opioids can cause a life-threatening overdose. This means the brain is no longer able to control basic life functions like breathing. Emphasize anything can be cut with fentanyl. It is in places youth wouldn't expect. Illicit fentanyl has been found mixed with other illicit drugs like cocaine, heroin, and ecstasy. It has also been found in counterfeit pills like fake OxyContin or Percocet in Ottawa and has been tied to life-threatening overdoses and deaths of youth. These counterfeit pills can be made to look just like prescription opioids and other medications, and it is very hard to tell the difference. Drugs should only be dispensed from a pharmacy or medical professional. Stress to youth not to be afraid to call 911 for help. An overdose is a medical emergency. Explain they should not be scared of calling 911 in fear of getting in trouble with police for drug use or possession. First responders, paramedics, and police are there to help, save lives, and ensure everyone is safe. Highlight having an exit strategy with a parent or someone youth trust who can help them get out of a risky situation. That person agrees to pick them up, no questions asked, knowing they made a good decision to leave safely. The key message for all youth is talk to someone you trust. When talking to youth, encourage them to identify those people they can talk to and mention to youth that talking to others and getting help if needed are good strategies for coping with feelings, stress, or an addiction. Talking about the current issue may help you feel less worried and anxious. It may also help to solve the problem. Sometimes the problem is too big to handle alone. If you are struggling with substance misuse or know someone who is, it can help or at least prevent things from getting worse. It feels good to know someone understands you and supports you. These messages are also all part of the Healthy Transitions program. Practice these refusal skills with youth and remember peer pressure plays a large role in why youth may use a substance. Use the no thanks technique or just say no plainly and confidently. Saying no without a lot of arguing and explaining is often the best and easiest response. The broken record, meaning repeat yourself as necessary. Sometimes it takes more than once and on more than one occasion. I'm still not interested. Just because someone asks more than once doesn't mean you have to give in. Reverse the pressure. Ask the person still pressuring you why they can't respect your choice. I said no. Why aren't you listening to me? Or please respect my choice like I'm respecting yours. Suggest a different activity. By thinking of something better to do, you're offering everyone an out. You might be surprised who might take you up on it. Use humor or make a joke. Sometimes a witty one-liner or well-timed joke can lighten a serious mood and help deflect the attention. The cold shoulder. Pretend you didn't hear it and change the topic to something else. Hey, I'm going to go play DJ for a bit. This music is brutal. Act like you don't think the idea is even worth discussing. Walk away. Don't stay in a risky situation or where you feel uncomfortable. Instead, just leave. Say, I wasn't planning on it, and walk away while saying it. Find other people to talk to or call someone to pick you up. It might seem risky, but with you leading the way, others who really don't want to do it may follow you. Avoid the situation. If you know or see places where people often cause trouble, stay away from those places or go another way. Strengthen numbers. Go places in a group and hang around with people you trust. Knowing your friends will back you up can help you feel more comfortable at being assertive. Sometimes we feel stronger than I. Make an excuse or give a reason why you can't. Sometimes backing up the no with evidence can give it more power. For example, you can state a health problem, like I'm actually allergic or I have asthma. If you're into sports, say smoking, drugs, or alcohol will interfere with your training. Maybe you don't want to because you know someone who does and you can see how it has harmed their life. Or say your parents will freak out. The following sources are some that youth can turn to for help and support: their family, their teacher, their school social worker, Kids Help Phone at 1-800-668-6868, the Youth Services Bureau, which provides youth and family counseling and crisis support, including walk-in clinics. Youth can call the 24/7 crisis line at 613-260-2360 or chat online at chat.ysb.ca. There's also local community health and resource centers, which have many programs and services for youth and families. For other supports for both youth and their families, see the stopoverdoseottawa.ca website. Starting the conversation with youth can be challenging at times. This is a great resource for parents, but also for those working with parents and their families. These videos demonstrate how to start a conversation about mental health. However, the tips presented can be applied to any topic. All the Have That Talk videos in the series can be accessed by visiting youtube.com/have-that-talk. Different print resources have been developed for youth, parents, people working with youth, and the general public. As seen here, a poster for youth was created to encourage youth to ask questions and talk with someone they trust. A guide to accompany this poster has also been created with the answers to the questions incorporated on the poster. More information specifically for parents has been developed at parentinginottawa.ca/stopoverdose. Also included there are links to the opioid discussion sheet for parents and other websites with more information on how to talk about drugs. We would also like to invite you to visit the ottawa.ca/stopoverdose resources website, where you will find more information and resources for youth, for health professionals, including opioid print materials like the fentanyl fact sheet, overdose awareness and signs and symptoms of an opioid overdose posters, a list of Ottawa pharmacies participating in the Ontario naloxone pharmacy program, a list of mental health and addiction services, as well as reports such as the Drug Overdose Death Report, the Problematic Substance Use Report, and the Ottawa Student Drug Use and Health Report. To learn about opioids, illicit fentanyl, signs and symptoms of overdose, and naloxone access in the community, go to stopoverdoseottawa.ca. Listed here are references used to enhance today's webinar. I would like to thank you for joining us today and will now pass it back to Robin.
Thanks, Danielle. As Danielle mentioned, we will now review questions from the live chat and emails. Please feel free to send additional questions during the question period. If we do not have time to answer all the questions, or if we do not have all the information at this time, we will connect with you following the live stream to provide an answer. I'm going to start with a question submitted through the opioids@ottawa.ca mailbox. Danielle, what can a school do if they suspect a youth is using drugs?
Thank you, Robin. The first step is that an adult the youth trusts speaks to them directly. Discuss the behavior that they're seeing. If they're noticing a change, have a conversation with the youth if they suspect that they're using. Getting help is the goal, so keeping the lines of communication open is very important. Rita Wood or Maison Fraternité are also great resources for students, and they have counselors in Ottawa high schools. Youth may be more willing to admit how they're feeling, so mental health resources are also important.
Thank you. Can community centers get naloxone?
Naloxone is a temporary antidote for an opioid overdose. At this time, naloxone is available for free at participating pharmacies with an OHIP card for anyone in a situation to help or to respond to an overdose. For non-medical organizations that would like to order in bulk, naloxone would need to be purchased. Consider how you would use it and who would use it and how you would go about training, providing a refresher for that training, and if you hire someone new, how to incorporate all those pieces. A policy and procedure would help an organization that has decided they want to respond to an opioid overdose and have naloxone. The most important action a community center can do, however, or anyone for that matter, is to call 911 for a medical emergency as soon as possible.
Are youth more likely to take risks with drugs if they know naloxone is around?
So this is a really good question. When talking to youth about naloxone, it's important to stress and to explain that naloxone does not eliminate the opioids from the body, but rather blocks the effects temporarily while waiting for help, such as the paramedics, to arrive. Often the drugs being misused are stronger and last longer than the naloxone, which puts them at risk for a secondary overdose. As the naloxone wears off, the opioid overdose can return. Naloxone may also cause withdrawal symptoms, which can be very unpleasant for youth.
I'm going to take another question here through our email. If a youth discloses that they have a drug problem, can you tell anyone?
Disclosing health information about youth without their consent is considered a breach of privacy, so it's tricky. It's always best to get their consent first when talking to someone else. Explain to the youth that you may not be the best person or the expert on the subject or treatment, if that's what they're looking for, but you want to ensure that they get help and they get the help they need. Ask them who else they feel comfortable talking with. This is important as you want to ensure that they have more than one person to talk to in case you're not available, but you're always happy to listen if they need to talk. On the other hand, if a youth is in imminent danger, you will need to breach their confidentiality in order to keep them safe.
We have a question here from someone who works at a community center. What can I do to get more information to support parents and youth?
The first thing I would say, if you haven't already done so, go to the stopoverdoseottawa.ca website and get more information. There's tons of it there, as well as the link to our first web session, Opioids 101. Resources and print materials are also available at ottawa.ca/stop-overdose resources. Knowing some of the basics and more information and resources in the community will give you the confidence to support youth and families as well.
Thank you. Do parents need naloxone if their kids are using drugs?
If a parent or anyone, a family member, anyone for that matter, of a youth who uses drugs is willing to respond in an overdose situation, free naloxone kits and training are available through the Ontario Naloxone Pharmacy Program at participating pharmacies. A list of these pharmacies is available at stopoverdoseottawa.ca, or you can call the Drug and Alcohol Helpline at 1-800-565-8603.
You. I have one more question here through email. How are mental health and addiction related?
Another good question. Research shows that more than half of people with substance use disorders also have had a mental health problem, especially with anxiety or depression, some point in their life. The relationship between substance use and mental health problems is complex. Some people with mental health problems use substance to help themselves feel better, but they may end up making the situation worse. When people have a mental health problem, even limited substance use can also worsen the problem. So it's important to make sure that you get help as needed. So Ottawa Public Health provides naloxone to clients and their families of its needle and syringe program through the Peer Overdose Prevention Program, or POP. Free take-home naloxone kits are available through the pharmacies, like I said before, with an Ontario health card. And again, to find a list of those pharmacies, visit stopoverdoseottawa.ca. But make sure you call ahead to ensure that the naloxone and the pharmacist are both available when you go.
Perfect. So we have a few questions coming in through email still. Youth are sometimes scared to call police if a friend who is using drugs needs help because they don't want to get in trouble. What should we say?
So this is an important message to get out to youth. We're trying to reduce the barriers and fear related to calling 911 for medical assistance or help, and it's important that we promote this message with youth. New laws are being discussed to remove the fears of getting in trouble when calling 911. Emphasize to youth that the priority is to first call 911, and the responders, police, and paramedics, as they arrive, their priority is to save lives and make sure everybody is safe.
What are the different services available in Ottawa for treatment for youth?
The answer to this question, and to find out more information about the services in Ottawa, I would recommend going to stopoverdoseottawa.ca. There's a list of mental health and addiction services as well on the ottawa.ca/stop overdose resources website. Ottawa Addictions Access and Referral Services, known as ORS, is a good starting point for people 16 years and older who are concerned about their substance use and want to understand and discuss treatment options as well.
What is the addiction rate or stats in Ottawa for youth?
It's difficult to know the true addiction rates in Ottawa for youth. Currently, information from hospitals like emergency room visits, hospitalizations related to drugs, and service access points such as distress call centers, walk-in clinics, or counseling in schools help to monitor and collect some of this data. However, there are limitations to know the real extent of addiction in the community, as there are also private and unconventional services that are not always accounted for. Survey data from students such as the Ontario Student Drug Use and Health Survey also help to inform us of student attitudes and behaviors related to drugs. For example, the USDA survey indicated that approximately 60% of youth who access prescription drugs for non-medical purposes got them from home.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the insightful questions and for attending today's live stream. We would greatly appreciate any feedback or comments you have in the evaluation that will be sent through Eventbrite following the presentation. Your feedback is incredibly valuable for us and ensures we are meeting your needs for future presentation. I'd like to thank Danielle for presenting the session today, and this wraps up our second session. We'd like to thank you again for tuning in with us.